in general, can you just kind of run through what kind of good work was this to come here and go through this?
These joint practices are kind of a good way to kind of test you mentally and physically, because you go down, you don't really get a chance to watch these guys on tape, so you're kind of relying on technique and just kind of fundamentals to get you through it. But I think it's good because it gives you a true test against people that you aren't used to working against every day. We go against our guys the same every day, and they get used to us, we get used to them. It's good to kind of switch it up. So I think it's important, and I thought we had some good work the last 2 days, and there's still a lot of things we need to clean up, as I'm sure Hugh said, and Pep and Ray, but I think that's what these practices are for, so we can go out there Friday night and put on a good show.
John, obviously you're a veteran. You got some really good seasons under your belt. Even having said that, though, can you even get better from working against a guy like Gerald McCoy for a couple days?
Absolutely. That guy, he's one of the best. So he'll test you every snap. There's no off snaps against him, and that's why it's so much fun to go against him. And he's a tremendous competitor, and like I said, there's no off snaps. He goes a million miles an hour, and it's good because you want to compare against the best, and he's one of them.
So if you're thinking about best three techniques, is he right up there, if not the best?
Absolutely, he's definitely in the conversation for the best, if not top three in the league, in my opinion.
John, how's it been that the offensive line seems a little bit settled on your side with Austin working there for a while?
It's been going well. I think that's important. Early on, it's kind of a shift, and that's what O-lines deal with. Because you have to find the best chemistry and the best combination, the best five. And I think we have that in place, and it's a good time because this preseason game, traditionally the number three, you get a chance to see the first offense the majority of the game. I'm not sure how long we're going to play, but traditionally it's the second half, end of the second half, so it'll be a good test for us. And I think it's important. It's nice to have Austin next to me, and he's played. He's a veteran, so he and I have the communication down, and it's just kind of little things still we're trying to iron out with footwork and this things like that, to where he's getting used to me, I'm getting used to him, and I think it's heading in the right direction.
John, with a couple of preseason games, in the books, these joint practices, and are you getting a feel for how Cam Irving's doing? What do you think?
Yeah, I like where Cam is at right now. He's a guy that's really worked hard and settled into that main position. He's getting bounced around last year, so I'm really happy with the way he's kind of settled in and taken over as like the leader on the offensive line, as center signal caller. So with that being said, I'm sure if you asked him, he's still got a lot of work to do. We all do. A guy like Joe Thomas that comes in there and he gets a day off here and there, and he can still come in and just kind of be him. The rest of us, we have to work, and I think it's important. So having Cam in there and in Austin, it's kind of it's helping us solidify that center to right side. I think it's been going well.
We know he left practice today, though. Coach said he thought he'd be okay. Do you have any feel for how he's doing?
I know yesterday he kind of had a minor tweak, and I think it was more of a precautionary thing today from what I've been told, and I talked to him after. He said he was fine, so I think it's just kind of a thing to make sure he's 100% going into Friday night. They don't want to take any other unnecessary risks. That's just from my perspective. It could be something different, but we were in there doing drills, and I noticed Garth was next to me, and I said, hey, where's Cam? Because I didn't notice it. These joint practices, there's kind of a thing where you're in like a small window, like a box, and you get going, and you're like, man, I don't even know if we ran or passed the ball there. I don't even know what happened. So, but I'm sure he's fine.
So you think it was more like a thing that happened yesterday? You tried to push through it, and then kind of.
I can't say. I'm not really sure. I know, when he went out there today, he was, feeling good. So maybe he re-aggravated. Maybe it was just kind of a thing where he was like, let's just shut it down. We don't want to take any unnecessary risks.
So all this kind of jogged my memory. You were when Alex went down, you were at center for a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that in the back of your mind at all? If something were to happen, could you see yourself being called upon to move over at one spot?
It's always in the back of my mind because that's been our plan the last few years, and until I get told otherwise, that's still my plan. Okay. So if it happens, I'll be ready. But obviously we want Cam in there, and he's our starting center.
Okay.
Well, we've seen Cam, since you have played center, we've seen Cam have some issues with shotgun snaps and things like that. How does a guy improve on that? Is that a mental thing? Is it just a matter of getting reps? How does a guy improve on that?
I think it's a little bit of both. You guys know, and I always say, Cam's such an amazing athlete. Just like being so big, you think he'd just be a mauler, but he can run, he can move, and it's one thing you kind of take for granted at center. I know when I got plugged in, I was like, man, just make sure the quarterback gets the ball. That was my main focus. So when there's a million things going through your mind, and that's just such a mechanism that's automatic, and you get used to it. So I think it's a little bit of a mindset for him, and I know he's working on it, and it's constantly on his mind. But I think with reps and once we get going, it'll just be second nature to him.
And you still do the snaps all the times with the quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, I go over there. Just we have 4 quarterbacks, and I just kind of go over there. It's something I've done the past 6 years, and I just kind of like a routine for me. So I go over there that way. If in case something does happen, I don't want to be talking after the game like, I haven't had snaps. I don't want any excuses. So I just do it just because. Stay ready.
John, can you talk about how has RG3 been coming along, and then also this game, all the receivers might be healthy. That's how it's supposed to go. Josh Gordon, Terrell Pryor, Corey Coleman in the game, Gary Barnidge. Can you just talk about the development and maybe the potential of this offense?
I think it's exciting because, as we've seen throughout camp, those guys are able to make plays. And you're right, you guys have been dinged up here and there, so I don't think we've had everyone out there 100% with our full arsenal. So hopefully we get a chance to do that Friday night and really see what we have and spread the ball around to these different weapons and keep defenses on their heels. As far as Robert, I think his leadership is tremendous. When he came in, even in the spring, I was like, this guy's got it. It's a thing where he doesn't have to rely on just his legs the whole time. We're not in there pounding him, and he's not taking a bunch of hits. So he can throw the ball. He's got some weapons on the perimeter, and our main focus now, it's like, hey, we got to keep this guy clean so he can find these guys, and he can get us out of trouble if he needs to with his legs.
And what's it like trying to? Well, I mean, you guys have had a lot of experience with that recently, but what's it like, blocking for somebody, in this type of scheme where they can take off any minute? I mean, how's that all going? That's really not on my mind. That's more of a extra bonus to where, if something breaks down and you have a quarterback that's not as mobile, it's probably going to be a sack or a throwaway or, something. So now it's kind of like, either way, we still have to do our job. We can't be like, oh, hey, if we get beat, Robert will bail us out. It's kind of a thing where we still have to do as much as we can, strain as much as we can to keep him clean so he can find those open throws, but knowing that, he has the athleticism and the ability to, even if it's get us out of a negative play, either get back to the line of scrimmage or, even something even better.
I asked Garth this too, the differences between playing guard and center, besides the obvious of having to snap the ball. I mean, Cam's kind of, he went from center at Florida State to guard back to center. What are the big differences in those positions?
I think it depends on the defense you're playing. Tampa's a 4-3, so the center's uncovered the majority of the time. So in passes, it's a little bit different because you're always sliding to one of the guards. If it's a team that lines up a guy right on your nose, you got to snap the ball and get your hand up immediately, or you're going to get beat. Or guard, it's if it's a pass protection, 9 out of 10 times you're going to have a guy lined up over you, and where you're sliding your way or you're not. So it's a lot of one-on-ones. So center, I think once you get everybody lined up and dialed up and get the points and everything, you're working with one of the guards. And in the run game, you're always, very rarely are you singled up. And guard's a little bit different. Sometimes the center's working with the other guard, and you're, on an island, or you're working with a combination with the tackle. So just kind of subtle differences like that. But I think, like you said, other than the obvious with snapping the ball, I think it's a little bit tighter footwork because you have to be able to help both guards if there's line movement or a blitz and you're going to a different linebacker. So I think that's important, and I think our guys are doing a pretty good job of it.
It seems like you've had a pretty good start to the preseason, even after missing some time early in camp with that hamstring. Are you pretty pleased with the way you've been able to kind of come into form pretty quickly?
Yeah, I wasn't nervous, but my first day or two back, I was pretty rusty, and I told Hugh, I said, hey, I'll knock the rust off as soon as I can, and luckily for me, he had some patience with me. And in that first preseason game, there was things just because I'm sure everyone had it because you're not used to gameplay, and that's what this preseason is for to kind of iron out the details and get fundamentals right and get used to the guys you're playing with and next to. So I was happy with the way I did, being able to do that thus far. With that being said, there's always things I can do better, and as I'm getting older, there's differences in my game now where I'm able to play smarter. I've seen pretty much everything that defense can do, and I just have to. These younger guys are quick and they're fast, they're strong, so I got to rely on technique.
With all due respect, you usually don't associate a hamstring injury with an offensive lineman.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Can you give us the backstory on that?
Yeah, so I was training because historically I always kind of struggle with conditioning tests. So I was just training for that, just at our facility running, and just kind of I probably wasn't warmed up like I should have, and just kind of felt something grab on the back of my hamstring, and it was kind of like that awkward time where it was like a couple weeks out from camp, and we got on it early and rehabbed and everything, and we were just kind of being smart about it because I didn't want it to be kind of a thing where, hey, like I want to get in there, and then it just kind of lingers throughout the preseason, and then God forbid it stretched into the season. So luckily we put it behind us.
Could you jump